Okay, so now let's continue to our last part. Now let's discuss what will happen with the returns contract. So let's assume the manufacturer is fixed to return contracts, and he needs to decide whether to induce the retailer to do forecasting or not. So as in the past, we defined the retailer's expected profit function like this, based on his true type S, and based on the contract he selects. Here, the first part is the expected sales revenue. The second part is the expected buyback credits, and the last term is the fixed transfer paid to the retailer to the manufacturer. Okay, here, QC, BC, and TC are the contract terms, and DS is the retailer's belief on the market demand. Suppose the manufacturer wants to reduce no forecasting by offering a single contract. What is an optimal contract? Oh, it turns out that this is really simple. If we want to induce the retailer not to forecast, then providing full insurance is the best possible way. Okay, what does that mean? We're going to offer a full return contract according to the quantity. I'm going to give you a buyback price exactly P, and I'm going to sell you at P times Q. Okay, what does that mean? If I'm the manufacturer and I offer this, I'm telling you that no matter how much you buy, no matter how many you have left, I'm going to collect everything from you at the price I sell to you. Okay, I'm going to sell you the product at price P, and then buy back those unsold product at buyback price P. And that means essentially you are working for me for free, right? Eventually you are not going to earn anything. As the retailer is not going to earn anything, and that's why the retailer has no incentive to forecast. Even if the retailer forecasts, she will still earn nothing, and actually she will typically earn a negative thing because she needs to pay the forecasting cost, right? So for returns induce no forecasting. We know the retailer earns nothing, so the manufacturer will offer the efficient quantity QI. The reason is that by doing so, the system expected profit will be maximized, and all of them will go to the manufacturer's pocket, right? The manufacturer used this to find the system optimal quantity and to find the system profit, and then use this full return contract to get everything. That's definitely optimal with no forecasting. So now suppose the manufacturer wants to induce forecasting. Okay, now it's not free. So the manufacturer needs to offer two contracts and solve this system. Okay, if you go back to check this with the rebate problem, you're going to see that these two problems are very similar. In particular, those constraints are almost identical. Okay, so again, we want to solve this problem to get our results. The forecasting, to induce forecasting, this will be the contract offered by the manufacturer. Okay, several observations. First, the manufacturer should offer a no return contract for the optimistic retailer, but a full return contract for the pessimistic retailer. Why? I want to differentiate different types of retailers, right? And I know if one guy is optimistic, then the retailer will not prefer full returns, right? As a retailer, if I believe the demand would be very high, then I don't really care about the buyback price because I believe with high probability I'm going to sell everything. Okay? On the other hand, if I'm pessimistic, then I really prefer full returns because that's going to protect myself. Okay, so to differentiate them, we need to give them what they like. So for the high type retailer, is no return, but for the low type retailer, it's a full return. Interesting thing here is that we have efficiency at bottom, not at top. Okay, QL star here becomes QLI, which means for the low type, the quantity is efficient. However, for the high type, okay, it's the maximum of these two. This is the efficient high type quantity. So that means the high type quantity may be upwards distorted. Okay, it may become too high. So let me say that again. Typically, we know QHI and QLI, they are different, and they are not. The difference between them is too small to differentiate different retailers. Okay, that's the typical case. And typically we decrease QL star, but here we do another thing. We increase QH. Okay, and now let's see why. The reason is that we need to discourage the retailer from doing no forecast, but select the contract for the high type retailer. Okay, we want to induce forecasting. So we need to make sure that it is not beneficial for the retailer to do not forecast and then select one of the contracts we offer to them. Okay, and in this case, making QH higher is the efficient way or the effective way for preventing the retailer to do that. Okay, I need to make the quantity high enough so that this high quantity contract will be accepted only if a retailer is very optimistic. Okay, and if you do not do forecast, you will not be so optimistic, then you will not choose my contract. So that's why I need to make QH higher. If I make QL lower, I'm not going to have this effect, and that's not the best way to discourage the retailer from doing no forecasting. Okay, so now we can show that when we want to induce forecasting, the retailer will still earn nothing in expectation. If that's true, wow, that's indeed something new. Okay, we just mentioned that when we want to induce no forecasting, the retailer earns nothing. If when we want to induce forecasting, the retailer also earns nothing, then that means eventually the retailer will always earn nothing. So we need to see why this is true. The retailer may earn rent, okay, because she has the power to lie. Okay, essentially this is the reason why the retailer may earn some rent. Okay, and this is why under rebates contract the retailer can earn something. However, here the full returns contract gives the retailer no surplus regardless of her type. Okay, think about this again. This is the contract offered to the low type consumer. The low type consumer is getting a full return contract and gets nothing. At the same time, this is something special. At the same time, the high type retailer, if the high type retailer chooses the low type contract, she will also get nothing. Essentially, that's because it is a full return contract. No matter what's your type, when you see full return, the only possibility is to work for the manufacturer for free. Okay? And that's why the manufacturer does not need to worry about mimicking. That's why the manufacturer is not at any informational disadvantage. So the retailer has no informational advantage because lying does not give her any benefit. So this happens even though she has private information. Okay? So this is again something new to us. And we have shown that even if the retailer do not do forecast, she may still earn some positive rent, and that's because she has the threat to do forecasting or not to do forecasting. Okay, the manufacturer need to worry about that the retailer does something he does not want the retailer to do. Okay, so that means having no private information may still have informational advantage because you have the power to acquire information. That's one thing. Another thing here is that even though you have private information, you may still have no informational advantage. Private information is not guarantee you for getting an informational advantage. Okay? It must be the case that lying can get you something. Then information gives you some benefits. Okay? Keep that in mind. So now again, there is a unique threshold that determines whether the manufacturer should induce the retailer to forecast or not. So we are discussing the forecasting or not issue. Surprisingly, the threshold is always identical to KI. Okay? And exactly that means the system, the channel, the supply chain will be coordinated. So by offering a return contract, the manufacturer should induce forecasting if and only if this happens, when K is small. The interesting thing is that this threshold is always identical to the system optimal threshold. So if K is greater or equal to Ki, we offer a single for returns contract and induce forecasting. Now, induce no forecasting. When K is small enough, we induce forecasting by two contracts. In particular, I did not write down the mathematical notations for contracts, but essentially we will offer a full return and a no return contract to induce forecasting. Okay? In either case, the manufacturer can make the pie as large as possible and get everything from it. The manufacturer can earn the integrated system expected profit. So this result should be surprising to most of us, right? This is a decentralized system. This is a decentralized system in which the agent may have private information. The agent can even choose to have private information or not. No matter how costly for the retailer, for the agent to get private information, we show that under this limited version return contract, the manufacturer is always getting the first best results. Okay? Let's try to answer why this happens. So, the whole reason is that for returns contract is too powerful. Why do we say that? As we mentioned, when the manufacturer will do the following thing, he will always offer a full return contract to extract all the surplus from a type N or type L retailer. Okay? If I want no forecasting for type N, I offer full return. When I want have forecasting for type L, I offer full return. And that's how the type H retailer loses her informational advantage. Loses informational advantage. Okay? Because there is no benefit for mimicking other types. Type H also loses her informational advantage. So now, as a manufacturer, I only need to worry about whether I should induce forecasting or not, and how may I induce forecasting efficiently. Here, there's one thing that is really good. If I want to induce the retailer to do forecasting, I know I need to offer two contracts. One of them is a full return contract, right? And to differentiate them, I can simply offer a no return contract with a very large quantity. Okay? In that case, this contract would be very risky, and this contract will encourage the retailer to do the forecasting. Okay? Exactly what I want. So I can offer 4 return contracts to eliminate informational advantage. And even if I need forecasting, I can offer no return contracts with large quantity to get that. So as a brief conclusion, screening is not a problem in this case because there is no informational advantage at the agent side. Okay, but inducing information acquisition may be a question because we need to make sure that when the system should do forecasting, I should also induce the retailer to do that. However, this is not really a problem. The retailer's threat of not to do forecast is credible only if K is small. Because if K is very large, this threat is not credible, right? But when K is small, the manufacturer actually prefers the retailer to do forecasting, right? When K is small, the system prefers forecasting, and the manufacturer prefers forecasting. So the threat is there. The threat is strong only when the manufacturer does not care about it. Essentially, that means the threat is not strong at all, and inducing information acquisition is not really a problem. Essentially, the key difference between rebates and returns, if you are asking yourself why returns can get first best, but rebates cannot, is that screening is a problem when we are using rebates contracts. Rebates contracts cannot give the high type consumer no incentive for mimicking the low type. Okay? And that's why we have the screening problem. That's why rebates contract cannot get all the surplus from the retailers. Okay, so now it's time for conclusion. In a manufacturer-retailer relationship, a supply chain in which the retailer may forecast or not is studied in this paper. We assume 2 types of contracts, rebates or returns. And from the manufacturer's perspective, returns contracts are always better. And actually, returns contracts are optimal and supply chain coordinating. Okay? So this answers the research question. Returns outperforms rebates. And moreover, we know how to design the optimal return contracts. Personally, I won't say the final result is very convincing because that returns contract is too powerful. It's so powerful that leaves no rent to the retailer. Okay, but from the theory's perspective, we can show you how may we compare 2 kinds of contracts, and in particular to illustrate what's the issue brought by information asymmetry or endogenous adverse selection. So I hope you like this paper, and if you have time, I strongly encourage you to read that paper if I do not require you to do that. Thank you.